Well, I'm glad you're with us today for a special episode of the Bridge Builders Forum podcast released in honor of Israel's Independence Day. This is a day of deep meaning for the Jewish people. It's a day of really renewal and resilience. And today, we're asking a question that may surprise some. What did the Apostle Paul really think about the Jewish connection to the land of Israel? Well, Paul's writings are often used to support the idea that the Jewish people no longer have a biblical claim to the land of Israel, and that the land promises were either spiritualized or set aside entirely. But is that what Paul actually taught? Let's sort this out. While Paul doesn't explicitly emphasize the land of Israel in his letters, that doesn't mean he saw the land promises as obsolete. In fact, the opposite is evident once we look closely at Paul's theology, especially his deep commitment to the covenant God made with the Jewish people through Abraham in the book of Genesis. So Paul affirms this covenant repeatedly in his letters. And what does that covenant include? Well, at its heart, in Genesis 12, 15, and 17, is God's promise of the land of Israel to Abraham and his descendants. This promise of land for Abraham and his offspring is one of the gifts God gave to the Jewish people. And Paul speaks of these gifts in Romans 11 as irrevocable. So that's not a vague theological point. It's a powerful affirmation of God's ongoing covenant with the Jewish people. Now, Paul, as the apostle of the Gentiles, was focused on expanding the family of faith. His mission was to bring the nations, the Gentiles, into right relationship with the God of Israel. But it wasn't to renegotiate Israel's calling or promises. So Paul's silence on the land isn't indifference, it's focus. He knew the covenants with Israel stood firm, but his energy was directed elsewhere. So why does this matter today? Well, one of the pillars of replacement theology, the idea that the church replaces Israel, is the denial of Jewish connection to the Holy Land. But Paul does not give us theological ground to sever that connection. In fact, his faithfulness to the Abrahamic covenant implies the opposite, that the land remains part of God's promises. So for Christians serious about honoring God's word and building true relationships with the Jewish people, this should be a wake-up call. Denying Jewish connection to the land isn't neutral. It actually undermines a central biblical truth cherished in Judaism to this day. So in this Independence Day, as Israel celebrates a modern return to its ancient homeland, may we reflect on Paul, not as a theologian of replacement, but as a bridge between Christians and God's enduring covenants with the Jewish people. If you'd like to learn more about Paul and his Jewish and Greco-Roman context, check out my book, The Weird Apostle. You can find it on Amazon. And don't miss out on any of my new content by subscribing wherever you're watching or listening. And if you'd like to learn more about how to build bridges between Jews and Christians, check out bridgebuildersforum.com.